You're listening to Solder Soot, a NARSA podcast. I'm Nathan Ingrao.
I'm Bobby Duran. How's it going, Nate?
Bobby, I'm doing pretty well. Today I'm wearing the official hat from the 2025 Seekings O'Connor golf tournament. I'm trying to manifest some warm weather here in Western New York. It is May and it is not warm, and I'm not happy about it.
I'm 82 degrees right now, and it's
Yeah.
it's wonderful. I went out my door this morning, and it was like Mother Nature gave me a warm hug and said everything's going to be okay today.
Well, I'm pretty jealous. But one thing I'm not jealous about is being at the 2026 spring conference that we had last week. It was just a fantastic time coming off of a high off of that. We got a lot of great feedback from members. And it was really just a great turnout there. What were some of your initial thoughts on that, Bobby?
I mean, first off, my hat's off to the host, L&M Radiator Masabi and the WebTech crew. They just opened the doors for us in a major way. But my first sort of perception of the whole event when I saw everybody getting there is some top talent in the industry that got together in Duluth. I mean, some of the best in the industry, some of the most well-known people that are really progressive in getting their businesses to the next level. It was just some fantastic networking, and I was just privileged to be in the room with that type of talent.
No, you're dead on right there, Bobby. Being in that room, I mean that was something you can't replace. You can't duplicate. The buzz that was happening, before sessions, after sessions, cocktail hour. It was just something that it was great to see, great to behold. And as someone that was emceeing the event, trying to get everybody back into their seats, after our breaks and trying to break up those discussions. It was a difficult task, but it was great to see members in action, whether it was at the tabletops, in between sessions, lunch, or even after the day was over at the hotel bar. I mean, there were so many interactions happening.
And then, as I've always said for a long time, I mean, obviously the sessions are always great. You learn something, but where you really get the value is just that interaction with people in between sessions, over dinner, over lunch. It was a really fantastic event, and you just they just seem to get better and better. And I'm hats off to you guys at home office for putting a really special event on.
No, thank you. No, it was a lot of hard work. The team did a great job on that. And another thing I wanted to point out, Bobby, just quickly, is how far some of our members came to travel to Duluth. I mean, even for someone based in the U.S., Duluth isn't easy to get to.
No, absolutely not. We had people from Brazil,
Mm.
Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Lots of participation from Canada, and I think
Hmm.
that had to do with just the amount of mining that goes on in Canada and what they have going on. They do a lot of Masabi work, so I hadn't
Hmm.
seen that much participation from those types of shops in one event in a long time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and just to kind of rattle off some more countries here. So we had a representation from Poland, from Panama. I mean, and far reaches of Canada as well. I mean, it's not even like it
Right.
was just like the closer regions. It was far reaching. So yes, I mean, to see the members show up, fantastic. Really great to see that, and love to see everybody that came through there. Um, let's talk about how everything started. Let's talk about Tuesday night, Bobby.
Tuesday night, well, we kicked it off with the Radiator Roundtable, and it's just an open town hall type of forum, smaller groups. We split them up, and we did the kind of the Radiator shops did one, and you did the supplier roundtable. Um, but again, it's very informal, and we just start talking about different topics. My group, we spoke about everything from warranties, like what are your warranties? What are you actually liable for? And some war stories about warranties and what you've done. We spoke about full water recycling. And we found out there are a couple of members that are successfully able to do 100% full water recycling, which was pretty intriguing to me. Um, we spoke about what software they're using to track jobs and the status of jobs in the shop. It was just a really free-forming type of event. I mean, it probably could have went on for a couple of hours if we wanted it to. And I encourage everybody to go to these things because again, it's a very relaxed thing. We want to hear everybody's voice and to get uh, It's not often you can get that many high-level radiator shops in a room from all over the world and talk about things that really affect you on a day-to-day basis.
No, I mean, you're exactly right, Bobby. So this is the second year that we've done this, and it's quickly becoming kind of a cornerstone of the spring conference. I mean, the initial feedback that we're getting from the attendees is that they love this, that they love that forum, and it's just a unique opportunity to share ideas and get all those perspectives in one room. And I was popping in and out between that session and another, and every time I stuck my head in there, you guys had a different topic going. Everyone's throwing ideas out there. It was really great to see.
It was excellent. And like you said, it seems to be really popular. And I encourage those that went. Like we do these surveys, like let your voice be known. If an event was if a particular presentation was excellent, let us know. And if a particular presentation wasn't really a cup of tea, definitely let us know because we really want that information because we want to give our membership what they want and what they need and what they enjoy.
Absolutely. And this idea was born from a member. I was doing some member visits and it was a suggestion from a member. And we take this feedback really seriously and we implement it the best we can. And it's looking like it's working out right now. And on the other side of things, for our other members on the distributor manufacturer side, we had the first ever supplier circle, is what we're calling it. So the sister session to the Rad Shop Roundtable, where the attendees that are representing the manufacturers and distributors had similar discussions. Roundtable, really free flowing discussion. It was great to see those members interacting in that way because I don't think that's something that they're typically doing on a regular basis. But there was a lot of good topics discussed. There was topics on just employee retention and hiring. With the labor shortage and skilled labor shortage, especially in North America. How they're handling training and promoting and hiring and sharing those ideas. There was a really good discussion on tariffs about how these tariff refunds are going to be played out and talking with the different people with the varied expertise. We had a couple of different raw material manufacturers and suppliers there. So they have a unique expertise and knowledge of this tariff situation that other suppliers may not. So really great to see, the information sharing and the information flowing in that kind of manner.
Yeah, and I will say this, what's unique about this is, I've been on several business peer groups and whatnot, and it's you get a lot of value out of talking to people from different industries. But the most value I get is talking to someone that's literally in the trenches with me in the same industry, either as a vendor, a fellow manufacturer, a distributor, a repair shop. And I'm not going to get that speaking to someone that has, a clothing distribution business or just a business that's unrelated. We may have commonalities in certain aspects of our business, obviously hiring and whatnot, but not in the way when you get to be in a room with 80 other guys that have businesses, and it's just a very unique experience. I highly encourage everybody to get out there and do it because I already know I picked up ideas that are gonna be extremely economically viable for myself and my organization.
And Bobby, I'm going to take this podcast off the rails a little bit. And sorry, Linda, but I wanted to say something about just the connections that I saw a little bit, in the bar or even in between sessions. So I had a discussion with one member, relatively newer member, and he's on his own. He's an independent rep, and we had a really great discussion about how. He doesn't really have a work family, right? He doesn't have that local network of employees and coworkers to network with. And after coming to the spring conference last year, he's developed that on his own. So he has his NARSA network of members that he talks to on a regular basis. He's either bouncing ideas off of them, calling on the way to work. He actually told me that NARSA is his work family. And like how amazing is that, right? I mean, just to see the power of the community showing up like that, especially for a newer member. I mean, it's been 1 year since he joined and really became active. So I mean, unbelievable to see.
That doesn't surprise me. Like some of my best friends, that I have come from my relationships I've developed in NARSA. These are people that if I were to leave the industry tomorrow completely and retire, I would still be friends with these people and hang out and break bread with them. So I think it's a uniquely welcoming industry. I think Rolf Anvin said it best, is that this industry is unique in the way it's very open to helping people. And he's been in the industry like 50 something years, right? So if anybody knows the uniqueness of our industry, and he's in it at a very high level. So he has sold copper to many different industries, and he's able to see how our industry is sort of unique, sort of really family oriented, and very open to people that want to help, that want help in making their business better and growing.
No, yeah. Amazing, amazing to see. All right, we'll get this back on track. All right, so let's talk about Wednesday.
Well, we were at the Garden Event Center in Duluth, and let me and I said this to you in private, Nate, and I'll say it publicly. The choice of that venue, I think, was spectacular. It was big enough for our group, small enough to feel, a very intimate vibe as far as networking and whatnot. You know, the area where the tabletops were set up was just the right size. The bar, it was just a really excellent venue, and I even enjoyed that there was a short walk from the venue to the hotel. About 10 minutes along Lake Superior. It was just an ideal place. Even though it was a little cold, we had great weather as far as the sun. I was able to go running in the morning with Wayne Felius from West End Radiator in Manitoba. And it was a really just awesome setup as far as venue is concerned. So my hat's off to you on the venue.
Oh, so thank you for that. Thank you. I would have to agree. It's nice having those different spaces in that room to be able to get away and also have dedicated space, whether it was for the roundtable discussions or for tabletops, that sort of thing. Now, and like you said, that Bayfront walk would have been amazing if it was maybe 20 degrees warmer.
What I could tell you is if you run 1 mile, it warms up and it's a pleasure. But you got to
Yeah.
kind of run for a while. So Wayne and I did about 4 miles every morning, and we had a good time. But it was about 35 degrees in the morning, I think.
Yeah.
But it'll wake you up.
Little chilly, little chilly. Well, I think one of the highlights of Wednesday was Gare Maxwell, and that was a recommendation by you, Bobby. I think he had spoken to a group that you're a part of. But holy cow, what a guy! How dynamic of a speaker was he with all the little contests that he had going on, keeping everybody engaged, the messaging just on point.
And I kind of had the sense that he would be well received by our group. Um, and I could tell it was working out because when I looked back on several of not just him, but on several of our speakers, there was nobody on their phone, very few people.
Mhm.
People were engaged, people were laughing, and it was a lot of engagement. I think he did a great job. I mean, all our presenters did well. I mean, we had I think first up was Carpet Paint with
Mhm.
Matt Anderson. So thanks to them for putting on. I think that's a very neglected sort of part of our industry. And I learned what some of our other people were doing with paint, even in the round table. And we had Failure Autopsies by Gary Dick from L&M, which was very interesting. We had the panel discussion on severe duty applications with Rafael Taveras, Mark Arbeau from Edmonton, David Sullender, Sully, as he's known, and Gary Dick from L&M. So, just getting people from different perspectives from all over the world to talk about severe duty. Again, this is not something you get just anywhere.
No, absolutely. It was great to have all this participation from these experts because, I mean, how hard is it to get this many experts in one room, right? And then also, share this information. So, yeah, I mean, just unbelievable content there, and really some detailed technical information as well. Especially on the failure autopsies. Like that was a really really technical presentation. So happy to see that. Your fireside chat with Tim Dennehy, I thought was very well received. I enjoyed that one a lot. Can you talk about your experience talking with Tim?
I mean, when you talk about Tim Denny, you're talking about someone that just has years and years, decades of experience in the most severe duty applications in the world, mining all over the world. He's an Aussie originally, but he's been all over the world, seeing the failures, seeing the challenges, seeing what people want and need out of their cooling systems, and how the industry has changed over the years. I felt really privileged to ask these questions and be with someone like him of his experience. And seeing what L&M needs from a service point of view, which I think
Mhm.
was eye-opening for a lot of our members to say, hey, L&M can't do it all. They need to be able to service their clients, and they have some standards, and here's what it is. And there's opportunity in this because they need qualified businesses to help their customers service their parts. Because as he said, it used to be that these mining operations would service everything, and now
Mhm.
they're outsourcing all that. So the person actually servicing the radiator, in this case, L&M's Masabi type radiators, while it used to be their mining company technicians, now they're looking for qualified third parties to do it. And that's where our members could really have the inside track.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I just wanted to point out too, all of the people from L&M, whether it was Tim, Gary, Ryan, or Sully, they're all really eager to share information. So if anyone has questions, even if you weren't able to attend to the conference, we can get you in contact with them, and I'm sure they'd be happy to talk to you because they've just been a great resource for us throughout the whole planning of this event, and then also, of course, during the presentation. So really awesome to see that. All right. So then, something new this year that we did is we brought back the award ceremony.
Yes, we did. And I think that was pretty well received. We had Shop of the Year, Chesapeake Cooling. You talk about a company that's really up and coming and just has really made a mark on the industry. It's Chesapeake Cooling, where, and Nick Slater, one of the partners there, we didn't even expect him to give a talk. And I
Hmm.
thought he gave a really heartfelt talk. And that was excellent, or rather an acceptance speech, which was awesome. Again, we mentioned Ulf Anvin
Hmm.
from Anvin International, someone that maybe most of our members don't know unless they're in manufacturing, but everybody has been affected by, because this is the guy that gets the manufacturers your copper and who knows just everyone in the industry. And I think it was really good to sort of recognize these kind of unsung heroes of the industry that not everybody may know, but have really made an impact on the industry. I thought that was great. And for me personally, I found it extremely touching for Marty Newell's award, I believe is the Lifetime Achievement Award, and his wife Gina presenting for him because he could not be there. And you could just tell it was very heartfelt. It was emotional for them, and that they were really touched to be recognized by an industry for his 50 some odd years of service. And I found that to be particularly touching.
No, I have to agree. I have to agree. Gina's been alongside Marty for this whole ride, and you can tell. I mean, she equally earned that award. I mean, so great to see that. I mean, really heartfelt, touching speech on her behalf. So I mean, we were happy to award Marty with that lifetime achievement. We also had the awards for Impact of the Year, which went to Johnson Manufacturing. Um, I mean, Johnson's always a huge supporter of NARSA, so I mean, that is well deserved for sure. And then, we also had our international awards. So the hosts from the 2025 NARSA International Tour were recognized, even though they were presenting their awards when we were there. We recognized them. And so, I mean, yes, again, thank you to Caliotto, Panotto, and Yetsen for hosting us this past year. The big award for the night was, of course, the Hall of Fame. Mr. Mark Taylor, former executive director of NARSA, was awarded that. We're going to get into that a little bit later, though, when Mark joins us. But before we do that, let's talk about Thursday at L&M, Bobby. We'll get back to the conference.
L&M took about an hour and a half bus ride. One of the buses decided to stop for coffee, which was interesting. But they made it happen. I could understand. It was extremely cold out. But we bussed our way over there, and L&M really just rolled out the red carpet for us. And we had four presentations. One of the things I particularly found interesting was the radiator tables that they had. They did allow me to take pictures of that. I sent those pictures to my staff and indicated that that might be a really good birthday present for me. Just saying. I didn't say anything. I didn't put in an order for it. I just kind of insinuated that that might be a good idea. It might be something good for their career. And they had a really cool coffee table. So a shout out to whoever made those over at L&M. They were really cool. I think our whole group was just enamored by these tables. They must have thought we were a little nuts.
No,
Um,
that was
but
cool. They
yeah,
also, I don't know if you noticed, they had the spindles on the stairwell. They were also their tubes.
y-
Did you notice that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they also had like full-size bronze statues of the
Hmm.
founders. I mean, it was
Yeah.
super cool, and you could just tell the pride that they have in their company. It was just evident. But everybody from L&M was super welcoming. And they broke the factory, the visit into four separate tours, which we had the actual factory tour, um, which they walked us around the whole factory floor. It was really amazing, and as well as their back office engineering departments. They had hands-on demonstrations where you can go and they could show you how to take out the tubes out of their normal radiators. They showed their tube and shell product, the RTTS product, and how to service them. So if I get anything in now that I'm not familiar with, I've never personally worked on their tube and shell products. But if they get in now, not only do I have an idea how to do it, I know who to call. I have
Hmm.
an idea of like, all right, who can help me with this so I can make sure I got the right procedures, the right parts to do the job correctly. And then we had the Voss demonstration. Voss is a radiator equipment manufacturer, amongst other things, based out of the Buffalo region. And they presented a concept of an automated flat fin machine where it would make the fin, load it into the table, and automatically push in the tubes. So they were getting feedback on that. There was a lot of questions, at least from my group, for them, and it's a very interesting concept. I can't wait to see the first prototype.
No, I have to agree. I have to agree. One thing I wanted to mention about the facility tour at L&M is one of our members suggested that it was like a candy store for them walking into there. I mean, it's just, I mean, all the neat equipment, sophisticated lifting. I mean, just, I mean, the what they have in there is just out of this world.
Without a doubt. Yeah, that trip, I mean, I may have gotten some ideas that are going to make me some money, but I also got some ideas from them that are going to cost me a bunch of money because they were so cool. Like all these cool machines. They had these lifts in the ground so they could put these big radiators in, and instead of people using ladders to get up to them, they would just drop it into the ground, and they had them like 6 or 8 feet down. Really cool, really sophisticated, and you can just tell that a lot of thought went into that factory from some really smart people.
Oh, absolutely. Did you note the number of overhead cranes and hoists in there?
I I didn't know the number, but I had definite crane envy. It
Yeah,
was more than
absolutely.
I
I
have.
think I lost count after 40. Yeah.
Hey, look, if I think it's just if you give people the right tools for the job, they could be productive and work safely. And then finally we finished up the tour with the CLR demo, which I don't know if Ryan had any idea the kind of reception he was going to get. Because he freely admitted, he's like, well, I don't know much about the radiator industry. I just know I get calls from people wanting to use my chemistry and my product to clean radiators. And I thought this would be a cool place to go. And he was very open for it. And I think I have this sneaking suspicion that he's going to get some good traction with that product because there was a lot of interest.
Yeah, and to beside some behind the scenes information here, we've been working with CLR since about last June, July, with this product, and it went through a couple different iterations and a couple different trials, and we got it to the point where we felt comfortable about debuting it to our membership, And so they brought in a bunch of samples of products, so their industrial degreaser and their industrial descaler. We did some live demonstrations there. They came really well prepared with extra product, and thanks to Brian at PickArts for some parts as well. So we did some tests on some really crusty cores, getting that scale off and watching those products work in real time. Just really incredible. And I agree. I mean, the interest seems to be pretty strong. And we're going to be working with them some more on getting this product available to members. So yes, yeah, more to come on that, and I think that's going to be a really interesting and strong partnership with NARSA.
And then we had the tabletops,
Hmm.
which I thought was excellent. We had a lot of people there. FedEx, our shipping partner, was there. I'm making some contacts with them on some of the things I do.
Hmm.
Active debuted their new isolator model there, which was interesting. I hadn't heard about it, so that was
Hmm.
kind of cool to have it debuted at our event. The guys from Ranchu, the guys from Omega. I mean, there was just a good amount of people there at the tabletops, and I think there was a lot of good networking happening.
Absolutely. That whole area, I mean, so it was in this upper bar area. It was just buzzing during the cocktail hour. I mean, it really was. It was great to see so many interactions, whether it was at the Johnson table, Northern, Lionel,
Yep.
Active, Ideal Triton was there with their clamps
Yes,
and yeah, I mean, it was great to see them there. So I mean, like, all of our sponsors, thank you so much for sponsoring these events. We can't do it without you. And I was happy to see that the tabletops were as busy as they were because they deserve it.
absolutely. And it just adds to the whole program as well, where our vendors could get value. I got 3 or 4 ideas out of those tabletops that I'll be pursuing.
Hmm.
And that's just me. So I'm sure other people feel the same way. So it's good. It's the tabletop. I even just liked how it was laid out, that kind of upper area.
Yeah.
And it was
Mhm.
had its, yeah, it was just a really good event.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean that venue really just lended itself to a great event. But Bobby, we're going to get to Mark here in a second. But before we do that, let's thank our podcast sponsors for today. We want to thank Johnson Manufacturing for always being a great supporter of NARSA and supporting the Solder and Soot podcast. As Bobby mentioned, we have FedEx, who is the official transportation partner of NARSA. Members can sign up for their Advantage program for free. Check out our website for more information.
We also want to thank 4R Fasteners, another sponsor of ours, looking for top quality industrial fasteners that combine durability and precision. 4R Fasteners offers custom engineered solution, competitive pricing, fast nationwide shipping on everything from hex cap screws to abrasive. Trust 4R Fasteners for all your fastening needs. Visit 4rfasteners.com to learn more.
All right, let's check in with Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey Nate. Hey Bobby. How you guys doing?
Doing great, doing great. First and foremost, Mark, congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. How does it feel? I know there's a major monetary reward award that goes with this. So, and I think there is a copper-colored Cadillac that's on its way to you. So this is a major thing for you. Or have you not received that stuff yet?
No, no. And I'm still waiting on the delivery of free lifetime supply of free coolant. But you know, I've got I got to say that yeah, it was one of the highlights of my life. I mean, you guys did a great job. I mean, I think you really went over the top with the slide presentation, the videos, and yeah, it was a really special induction, I must say. So thank you very much.
I'm going to propose that the next Hall of Fame inductee that was a shop owner gets like a pallet of scrap for their induction to the Hall of Fame as
Well,
like a
that
as
might
like
be a
a
little cumbersome, depending on if they, still have commercial real estate or not to have that shipped to them. But, it might look a little funny with a pallet of scrap showing up at my front door here in Reynolds. So,
but I'm sure Sandy wouldn't mind.
we could probably find room for it in the garage until we sold it.
So,
Oh man.
Oh
so
boy.
Mark, in your speech, you talked about how much NARSA contributed to your success. What advice do you have to other business owners that are on the early part of their career? And can you talk about, making the most of NARSA membership?
Bobby, that's like asking an ice cube to melt in 100-degree temperature. Okay, we won't have a problem with this. uh, I think we want to keep this kind of brief. I could talk about the value of NARSA membership and the little things that I've learned over the years. Real quick, I'll just tell you a story that I had with, I think, is it Dan Wilson, our new member from Montana?
Mhm.
Yes.
I was telling him about going to a radiator shop back in the 80s outside of Pittsburgh. It was in Butler, Pennsylvania. The man's name who owned the shop was Guy. I forget Guy's last name. It was an Italian name, I think began with C. Anyway, I can see his picture or face plain as day. Anyway, he had an ed tech. I drove up, went to this ed tech. And I'll never forget because after attending his ed tech, as soon as I got back to Baltimore, I bought new torches. And those torches that I bought that I had seen at his place, they were the national torches with, he was using acetylene and air. And we went to those torches. And I mean, this was just one small thing that I got early on in my career that just, I think, really changed the way we repaired radiators at that time. We were still doing, a lot of copper and brass in the 80s, still doing a lot of solder work. And so, implementing these new torches in our operation, it made us so much more efficient. It made our workmanship so much better that this is just one instance of picking up something small from traveling to another radiator shop. Okay. And that was because of NARSA. I mean, we had lots of educational ed tech sessions or whatever back in the 80s. And so that was the one story or the vivid moment that I had the other day when I was thinking about how NARSA helped, like when you're walking through these facilities or you're walking through somebody else's radiator shop, that you just pick up one little thing. I mean, that was a game changer for us. And we used those torches from the time that we changed back in the 80s until I sold the company in 2016. And when people would come to our shop and they would see those torches, they would be like, wow, what are you using? Because it was something that was pretty unusual in our business. There weren't a lot of radiator shops using those types of torches. So anyway, that's just one example of picking something up because of NARSA. And Bobby, the relationships then and the business arrangements are even more powerful than these little, kind of repair techniques or whatever. I mean, they'll definitely make an impact on your business. But I mean, let's face it, when it came to the relationship that you and Angelo and I had as a result of NARSA, I mean, that just snowballed into a life-changing event, more so than enhancing your business and giving you a little bit of an advantage in your business. I mean, that relationship that the three of us had, which you talked about in the Hall of Fame induction, I mean, that relationship is life-changing. I mean, it altered our lives and the trajectory of our lives, forever because of those relationships. If it wouldn't have been for NARSA, we would have never have met. I mean, you talked about coming to my shop, hanging around afterwards, and then, we hooked up and blah, 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 and everything that happened after that. So, that's been a long time now. And we enjoyed that relationship with Angelo until our good friend passed away. So, we sold our business, we grew our businesses, we sold our businesses, and life changing. So, I have NARSA to thank for a lot of things in my life that weren't just business, but affected us personally too. So,
Mhm. That's a good point, Mark, too, because, obviously, shop owners can do this on their own, right? They don't necessarily need NARSA. But the fact that NARSA exists and that there's these opportunities for connections and for learning that can really change the trajectory, like you just said, of how your shop operates or how your life even will unfold. Because you just never know how it's all going to play out, right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I tell everybody that I meet or that I talk to when I was in your capacity or even on the board or as a member, you can't take advantage of the real power of NARSA unless you get involved. I mean, unless you attend and meet the people. And so, I think, Nick Slater and Dan Wilson are two examples of people new to our industry. And, they're not super young. I mean, they're younger than me, but, imagine 40s. Okay. But here they are, they come along into an industry after they've had maybe a successful career in something else and they get involved. But it's like I told Dan, right? Like we can preach to people that you got to get involved in NARSA. You have to attend the events. You have to meet people. And I know for a lot of guys who are hands-on, that might be out of their comfort zone, right, to do this. But when you see people like Nick Slater and Dan Wilson who come out that get involved right away early on in their radiator career or whatever, and then they do so well and they thrive and they make these relationships, they're making the best out of what NARSA has to offer. And I'm just really proud and really happy to see that, because that's the future of our industry too, right? When you see people like this who are getting involved and then it goes on.
No, and I mean, Mark, you're exactly right. And just like our mission statement says, it takes one, right? One idea, one opportunity, one connection to make a change. And to that point as well, Mark, about showing up and coming. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Rocky Mountain Radiator team, they shut down their whole shop to come to this conference. Like, how impressive is that? Like, putting learning first. Like, it's just amazing to see it. And thank you to them for doing that, because it's just, I mean, the importance of this event to them just paramount.
So those were all the people in the blue jackets,
It
huh?
was.
Okay. I didn't realize who they were, where they were from, and so that's awesome, because I can tell you that my greed would have never allowed me to have done that early in my career. We would have never shut the shop down. So
No,
my hat's off to them, because I mean that is that's really dedication,
absolutely.
It's a testament to the value that they find in NARSA. So,
Mm.
that's up to us to put out a product that people find that valuable. So I was really impressed by that, and I love the blue jackets.
Yeah. Well, they definitely stood out. They looked really good. So
Mm. All right, so Mark, you've been to a lot of conferences. You've run a lot of conferences. What stood out to you most about this one, about the visit to L&M?
well, I would just like to reiterate, and I think that you all have probably talked about this now, that even though L&M was kind of out in the middle of nowhere, um, you pretty much like sold the event out. I mean, you had great participation at this event. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious that the host and quality of the host, quality of the operation, and the history or oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the reputation, right, of L&M and Masabi radiators, that had a lot of people in our industry clamoring to see their operation. Along with that, you also had a great program. So it doesn't apply to me too much anymore. And I must say that I didn't sit in on on all on all of the presentations. But, giving it an overview, it was a great program. So, location really doesn't matter as much as the quality of the host, the type of operation that the host has, because that, I think, is what creates the excitement. And I think the formula is the same, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago or if it's today. The formula of, good programming and the reputation of the host is going to attract attendance. And so, when you hit on all those things, and you have, they're all above average or whatever, you're going to have great turnout. And I think that that's up to the NARSA people, the management, the team, the board of directors, to keep coming up with locations like this, right? That people are really interested in seeing. And, whether you're in repair or manufacturing, when you walk through an operation like L&M, you're going to find those one or two things that you can take back to your operation. Like I said, whether you're in manufacturing or repair, that you can use for the rest of your business career. So yeah, I think it was great event, really was, and and it just holds true to what we've done in the past. Did that answer the question?
It sure did. So now that you've had a little bit of time to separate yourself from the industry and the association, Mark, how does it look different to you, today versus maybe when you first got involved as executive director, 5+ years ago, or even to where it was maybe even 10 years ago? Where do you feel that the industry and the association compares?
That's kind of tough. I mean, we have to go back. I mean, there there was a different attitude in NARSA, let's just say 10 years ago, I think, right? Um, and and I was having a conversation. I think this applies. I hope I'm not squirreling here, but if I am, hey, you know what? Who cares? Um, I had a conversation with Don Hart the other day when we were in the back of the room at uh, up in Duluth. And I said, Don, I said, is there anybody else in this room who's been involved with NARSA as long as us? And he named a couple of companies, like Roppels had been involved, and there was one or two other companies. But as far as the people in the room, Don and I probably have the most history between the two of us. He got involved, I think, in NARSA in like '87. I went to my first event in the early '80s and was in Vegas, and I'm not sure what year it was, 82 or '83. I was in Vegas for a national convention. So, we were kind of reminiscing and talking about, a little bit of history. And, Don's been involved with NARSA. I mean, he was on, the national board and president of NARSA, and chairman of the board. And so, been around NARSA a long time, and in the inner circle, you might say, of NARSA for a long time also. And, I said to him something about, I said, when I was on the board, even as like president or chairman of the board, and then, became executive director, when I would look around the table, I would be like, wow, nobody, like, I'm the only one that has history in NARSA here. Like, all these other people, they're younger. Yeah, they maybe grew up in the radiator business, because their dad or, grandpa, some started the business and they kind of grew up in the radiator business, but they don't have that history that we have. And then it dawned on me. I looked at Don. I said, you know what? I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. I said, because we're so different today from the way we were 30, 35 years ago, that do you want a bunch of people sitting at a table that have all this history from 30 or 35 years ago? that history is going to do nothing but cloud their judgment for the future, because the industry and the people today are different than they were 30 or 35 years ago. So I said, you know what? It's not a bad idea that we're not sitting at that table anymore. You know, I said, let the youth of our industry and let the people who are involved now, who have a different perspective of NARSA, and they're not saddled with all the what we used to do and how it used to be kind of rhetoric and history floating around their minds. They have a fresh slate to look at the future, okay, from the way the industry is today, not the way the industry was 30 or 35 years ago. So, you know, when I look at NARSA, that's the way I think about it now, is that, yeah, okay, I have this. There aren't a lot of people that have it that are left, and there's nobody on it, but it doesn't matter because we're different. We've evolved, you know, as this industry shrank from 14,000 radiator shops in 1981 when I got in the business to, I don't know, 6, 7, 800, whatever we have now in the United States and Canada. You know, it's completely different, right? We are so niche focused. We have these niches that depending on where you're at in the country and what type of opportunities, business opportunities arise, you take advantage of those. You know, back in the 80s, you know, everybody was recoring GM cross flows, you know. I mean, that was 75% of their
360s,
yeah,
360s, right?
360, 361s, 362s, 389s, 390. I mean, you know, yeah, just give me a three number, right? Yeah, we 4 cores and
Right.
that fit, you know, 80% of the GM radiators or something like that. But so the industry is different today. And I think it's great that we have all this young talent or younger talent on the board that is not clouded, you know, by our past history. So, you know, when I look at this, I see, you know, fresh ideas. I see things that we're doing that are a whole lot different than what NARSA did, you know, 25 or 30 years ago. And I love it. I mean, I think that this is an evolution of business that occurs in different. I mean, you look at lots of industries, they're no longer, they're either don't exist anymore, right? Or they're like us. I mean, you know, like if you were in the alternator and starter rebuilding business, I mean, look how that business has changed. A lot like ours. I mean, there's still some guys left that do that, but that industry is a fraction of what it used to be, just like ours is. But there's still people in every niche industry, you know, that are able to really make a good living and make an impact too. So, you know, it's like I said in my acceptance speech, what we do matters, and what the association does matters. It's just a question of getting the people to recognize, the owners and people in this industry to recognize that, look, attending has its benefits, right? So,
Hey, Mark, for those that might not know you from this podcast, basically you ran ERS cooling systems. You had a nearly 40-year career, and successfully sold it to a large multinational company in 2016. Um, if you had one or two pieces of sage advice or wisdom to impart on our, especially these younger members that you aforementioned, what would that be as far as getting your career started and and knowing what you know now? What would you impart, one or two pieces of advice or however you deem fit?
so the one thing besides my connections in NARSA and going to all these events over the years and picking up these one or two little things that made us better at our job or better craftsmen, and besides the three of us hooking up, I have to say that sales, learning how to sell and market your company, is the single most advantageous thing you can do. And I know it's tough because as business owners, especially when you're small, to justify a sales position and to pay the kind of money that it takes to get a good salesperson to come to work for you. That is tough for a lot of business owners, because if, depending on how long you've been in business, to hire a good salesperson or to find a good salesperson and to keep them engaged, they're going to end up making as much money maybe as you as the owner of the company in the beginning. And that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of small businessmen or small business people, women included. So, that is the single thing, or the one thing, that will take you to the next level. If you look at every successful organization they have great salespeople. They have a great sales team. They have a great marketing strategy, right? Just like we did with NARSA, when we all got together back in Orlando early on in 2019 or whatever, and we came up with the one connection, the one opportunity. And so, when you can put something together like that for your own company, and you can market it, and you have a good website and a good web presence, and you have marketing materials, and you learn how to do email black, whatever it is, right? And you have outside sales. I really believe that in our industry, it's still touchy-feely, and people want to see salesmen, because when you're talking about the type of things that we're doing in our industry, they're people that are dealing with heavy equipment. They're people that are dealing with trucks. Now that's evolved also, right? They become more techy. They want to order online. They want to do all these things. So, you have to stay up with the time. But I'm telling you, knocking on doors, having personal relationships with people in our industry and the industries that we serve, there's no substitute for that, Bobby. I mean, that, I think, as well as anybody. I mean, when you look at our businesses and how the three of us grew our businesses, I mean, we did a lot of outside sales. We had people on the street. We were banging on doors. We were in front of our customers all the time. And that's the way you do it. And I still think that that's relevant today.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. And I think, in this age of AI and, that pendulum swing, I think there's going to be a pendulum swing the other way, where what people are going to want is authenticity and the human touch. And I feel like as that becomes rarer in sales and whatnot, I think people want that. I think there'll be a major swing. Um, Finally, Mark, I gotta tell you, I mean, obviously, I admire you tremendously over your career and the person you are. But one thing I totally admire the way you did is how you handled retirement. Can you tell us what you've been doing with it? I think you've handled retirement as good as anybody, as I've seen anybody do it. And I think there's a real skill to that. Some people can't turn it off. They can't just be like, I can't stop working. Some people retire and then they kind of lose their North Star and don't know what to do with themselves. I haven't seen that with you on a personal level. And can you give us can you fill us in on what you've done in retirement, and how you've made retirement a fulfilling experience?
Well, I'm still looking for something to do right now. And I'm not sure what my calling is. And I'm not in a hurry to just jump into anything. You can only play so much golf. You can only travel so much. And I think that I've been getting that out of my system. But let's go back to when I sold. A lot of people, business owners, will have a lot of difficulty in selling their businesses because they feel like it's their identity. And at the end of the day, it's a material object. And so in 2016, when we sold Bobby, and well, let's rewind a little bit. Once we had our first conversation about selling between the three of us, and we said, yeah, let's explore it. And Sandy was with us when you and I went to the Darnells in Florida, who had sold 4 years prior, and we had met with, or we were visiting them anyway. We left, and they said, let us know if we can help you out in any way if you're interested in selling. So, I said to Sandy, she was, yeah, let's do it. So, we'd been working 18 years at that point together, and it was a grind. I tell everybody, being in business, even if you get to the point to where your phone isn't ringing all the time, you have people in place and everything is well managed and your business is growing and you're making money, you still feel like when you're in business and you're a business owner, that you still have that 2,000-pound rock that you're pushing uphill. So when it came time to divest the company or to sell the company and walk away, I was like, it's just a material thing. It's really about money. It's about bricks and mortar. It's about equipment. And in the big picture, none of that really matters. So because that's not who I am. That's what I did for 36 years. And I think it's easy to fall into that trap of saying, well, this is who I am, when really it's not, right? This is what you do. It's not who you are. So I think a lot of people have a problem with separating that and then being able to get rid of it. Or they think it's worth more than it really is, which we always overvalue ourselves, and that prevents them from being able to sell it or get rid of it. So I didn't have any of those issues. I mean, there was the one thing I missed was the people. And I knew that I was going to be leaving people behind that I had worked with for years, and that relationship was going to change. So that was the only kind of apprehension that I had was because of those relationships, not because of what I was doing, not because of the business, not because of the buildings or whatever, because that stuff is temporary in your life anyway. So, when I got rid of it, and then we sold everything and moved to Puerto Rico. So I thought when we built our house in Maryland and had this really nice setup, I told my wife, I said, you're going to be burying me back up there on that hill behind the pool. And then we made a big life change. So then I learned that, hey, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff, right, that we have in the house. We're going to downsize. We're moving to Puerto Rico. I'm not taking all this junk with me. So that was another way that it helped me to kind of disconnect from the materialism that had been my life, okay, up through 2016. And by moving to Puerto Rico, getting rid of all this stuff, and then we moved again in Puerto Rico and moved from a house to a condo, and then we come up here to Georgia, I've become less materialistic and less about things and the things that I have or I've accumulated. Whereas, like tomorrow, I could leave Georgia and go somewhere else to live. It's not about the house. It's only about the people. Like, I would miss the people. I would miss the friends that I've made. I mean, if I miss Puerto Rico, it's because I don't get to see you anymore, hardly at all. Okay. A couple times a year. So, I miss Matt and Michelle, the friends that you make. So you miss those people. I don't really miss, being in Puerto Rico. Just like if I left Georgia, I would miss some of the friends that we've made here. So for me, that's what's allowed me to disconnect and kind of enjoy retirement and do some of the things that I dreamed about for years while I was working, which was being able to travel, being able to like get up whatever time in the morning I wanted to get up, and play golf or do what I want, or hop in the car and say, hey, let's go here. Okay. So anyway,
From the outside perspective, you seem to really be enjoying your retirement, because I don't see you much with a frown. And, you know,
Well, Mark, I think that's about all the time we have for today, but I just wanted to jump in here and just say congratulations on being inducted to the Hall of Fame. You know, it's a well-deserved honor, and I'm so happy that you're able to make it to up to Duluth to accept the award. And it was great to see you, and I'm proud to carry your torch into the next era of NARSA.
One last thing, Nate, you're doing a great job. I'm so impressed, not just you, but the entire NARSA team. I'm really so impressed. I read the magazine from cover to cover. I see what you're doing, and it's just wonderful to see the amount of energy and the new ideas, the fresh ideas that you've brought to NARSA. I made a commitment to them to accomplish a couple of things, which I think I did, but I just don't have that perspective and that energy that a young man brings to the table. And you've brought that to the table, and you're doing a great job. And I wish you guys the utmost success. I think it's been great. And of course, you know, I'm a huge Linda fan. You know, I just love her to death. And you know, she's helped to really, you know, help us to transform this industry also. And you know, she's a remarkable young lady, and so you guys have a great team, and the board's doing an excellent job. So you know, I'm just really so proud of you. And yes, it was a great honor, probably the greatest honor that of my life, other than my wife and son. This is probably one of the highlights of my life. You guys inducted me in the Hall of Fame, so I really appreciate it. So thank you.
thank you so much, Mark. It's been great.
Yes, it has. Thank you, gentlemen.
NARSA's mission statement is one idea, one opportunity, and one connection. If you're not yet a member of NARSA, we'd love to have you join us. Learn more about membership by visiting our website, narsa.org.
And stay connected with us on our website, narsa.org, by using our newly updated classified section and message boards. You can also find the full member directory by logging into your account.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at NARSA Now on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're also active on LinkedIn and YouTube. Just search for NARSA.
And we want to thank our sponsors for today's episode, Johnson Manufacturing, 4R Fasteners, and FedEx. Be sure to check them out. They've all been great supporters of NARSA.
And don't forget to subscribe to Solder and Soot wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.